Before we get into today's episode, this one is brought to you by Flowdesk, the email marketing platform I use to run my own newsletter at Line Creatives. If you've been putting off starting an email list or you're on a platform that just isn't working for you, Flowdesk is worth a look. The templates are beautiful, it's easy to use, and it's built for small business owners. Get 25% off your first year at flowdesk.com/c/Line Creatives, but I'll make sure to drop the link in the show notes.
And when I did end up in the ER, literally my body had shut down. I was frozen. I really was like a block of ice. I couldn't move.
Wow.
Every muscle in my body was atrophied. Terrifying experience. And the doctors had said, listen, if you don't, this is such a case of chronic burnout, such intense burnout, that if you don't switch up your lifestyle or get a different job or figure something out with your current job, you're going to have a heart attack.
Welcome to This Might Get Creative, a Behind the Brand podcast by Line Creatives. I'm Svenja Line, and in each episode, I sit down with local business owners and entrepreneurs to share their stories, how they got started, what keeps them going, and what makes their business stand out. My goal? To help more amazing businesses be seen, supported, and celebrated. So grab your coffee, because this might just get creative. Welcome back to This Might Get Creative, a Behind the Brand podcast for business owners and entrepreneurs who want to pull back the curtain on branding, strategy, and what it really takes to build something that lasts. Today's guest spent 4 years producing events for NBC Universal without a single day off until her body made the decision for her and she ended up in the ER. That moment became a company. Stephanie is the founder of Triage Coaching and Consulting, a burnout and stress mitigation company that rewires the subconscious stress patterns most of us don't even know we're running. She holds a master's degree in decision-making sciences and social cognition. She co-hosts the Raw Onion podcast. Excited about that one because I think we talked about, to be honest, yes. And she understands better than most why building a brand feels so personal. Stephanie, welcome to the show.
Svenja, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. This is a wonderful collaboration and meeting of the minds.
Yes, I agree. Yes, of course. And where are you located? You're right now in California, correct?
Yes, Los Angeles, California.
Oh, nice,
bright and sunny, about 100 degrees today scheduled. So we are in July.
That's awesome. Yeah, we had lots of rain the last couple of days. And it's funny because we had on, I think it was Saturday, we wanted to go for a walk with the dogs. And there was a cloud, and I've never seen a cloud like that. It was just hanging there, and it looked like if you've seen Stranger Things,
yep.
It was kind of like the Vecna whatever cloud, and it was strange. So we went back inside, and within seconds there was a big storm. So, anyways, a little backstory. But now we have good weather again.
You're built differently. On the East Coast, I feel like you guys have to be a little tougher dealing with that wild weather. We're spoiled out here.
Yeah, I know. I used to live in close to Sacramento in Lincoln. And,
yes. Okay. So
the weather was just beautiful. But at least we have water.
You have water. That's yes.
Yeah.
We lack that significantly, and I don't know. You have seasons. I think that's something I'm envious of too.
Yeah, we have seasons. It's beautiful. Yes, but getting back to you. So, stress. I mean, the whole internet is full with stress management, stress posts, stress is everywhere. But maybe from your perspective, can you tell us what stress is, what burnout looks like, and how this became Triage Consulting?
Yeah, so, stress for me really took on a very personal meaning, and long story short, really kind of made it my life's work trying to unpack what this really is about. As you said in the bio, I spent actually almost 20 years in large scale event production. Worked my way up. I loved the job. I worked here in LA, all over the world actually, for really high end clients, 5,000-10,000 person events. Ended up working at NBC Universal, which was an incredible learning opportunity. And I really hit the ground running, jumped in the deep end. I thought I would figure it out. And long story short, and it is a long story, so I will shorten it. At the end of the day, you hit the nail on the head. I was plowing through over 4 years without a day off. That's literal. I kept ignoring the warning signs. I kept ignoring the reality around me. I didn't honor my own boundaries. There were so many red flags that I ignored along the way that I ended up in the emergency room one day.
So let's talk a little bit about those red flags and the warning signs, because I think those signs and the red flags can be very hard to detect.
Oh, yeah.
I think, I mean, from own experience, when, you're just working and working and working, and then, you typically would maybe go for a walk, but then you don't because there's so much work. And then eventually, I don't know, for me, usually it manifests in my shoulders. I have like my shoulders hurt, but it's easy to ignore because those are just little signs. So what are the signs?
Well, that's actually an interesting point you make, because those are not little signs. Those are actually the big S signs, right? The big capital R on the red flag. And actually breaking it down, and we'll nerd out a little bit here if you don't mind, those are real sort of, when you feel it physically, and this is now, of course, hindsight is 2020, so now I know. At the time I didn't. None of us know, right? Very few of us are very aware of our bodies giving us signs. You want to plow through, you want to reach the goal, you want to succeed as a high achiever. These are annoyances that you'll brush off. Toughen it up. Put in your skin a bit. This is, the world is tough. You've got to produce. And so even stiff shoulders, even that sort of clenching in your gut, or even, let's say, digestion issues, realizing that you cannot turn off your brain after you leave an office or a work situation. If you're getting anxiety when the phone rings, or if you hear your email ping and you have a reaction, these are huge warning signs. And the problem is, as I'm going to go a bit nerdy here, that is really our vagus nerve lighting up our amygdala. And what we're really always mixing up is the fact that we're taught to believe that our logical brain will tell us when it's enough.
Yeah.
We're wrong in that. It's actually our body. We work the opposite way. We work from the stomach and digestion upward. And so when we're feeling the physicality, that's our first sign that, wait a minute, something's off. And then it will come to the head. And that's usually when we talk ourselves out of the body to say, okay, ignore it, keep pushing. And now, after years of study and building this business, I understand what this chaos is. But at the time I didn't, and many people don't. And when I did end up in the ER, literally my body had shut down. I was frozen. I really was like a block of ice. I couldn't move.
Wow.
Every muscle in my body was atrophied. Terrifying experience. And the doctors had said, listen, if you don't, this is such a case of chronic burnout, such intense burnout, that if you don't switch up your lifestyle or get a different job or figure something out with your current job, you're going to have a heart attack. And so that was kind of it for me. I realized that, it wasn't, and the thing is, looking back, I still loved the job. I loved the people. I loved the projects. I was in rooms where most people would never dream of being in. Really chance of 1 in a million, and I know that. How I grew in that position, how I had no boundaries, how I let people treat me a certain way. that was the real core of the issue. And I had to figure out, okay, so where did this go wrong? I am not one for playing the victim, but I also have to figure things out. I am such a detective, like a dog with a bone. Okay, there's a problem. Let's find the root of the problem. And so, yeah, it was a dramatic end to a really interesting experience. But I had taken then the time, and honestly, the recovery process was brutal. It was a real dark night of the soul to say, okay, this wasn't just the job. What happened here? There's no way. The damage is too great, physically and mentally, spiritually, emotionally. I was turned into dust, and I had to figure out why. And so that's why I really, really spent those years trying to say, okay, what happened? And really dug in deep with the fact that this wasn't only my stress regulation. I am pretty confident in who I am as a person. I could run giant projects. I could manage 100 people at a time. That wasn't the issue. It was how I responded to these environments that was the issue. And I went back to school, went overseas, I studied, I dove into the science, the neuroscience of what went wrong.
Oh, so that was all after you went to the emergency room.
Yeah, I had gone to school overseas to get my master's degree in my earlier 30s. I'm in my 40s now. And so after the fact, I had gotten this job, had this whole experience, and then I actually went back and dove into the studies again because my curiosity peaked. And I said, all right, something. And oddly enough, I had studied social cognition and decision-making sciences really with the interest, oddly enough, in brand psychology, what drives the motivation of buying, in event production, what gives people a moment that's memorable. It's deep. There's always a deeper level. I just never used it on myself before. And so the education was, wait a minute, I'm running a program here that is not mine. And I dove deep and really went into the neuroscience of epigenetics and inherited stress patterns. And this is how Triage was born. And it really is the decoding of your subconscious stress patterns. And it sounds a little wild. I know, but I swear it's the real deal. You're going to the root of why you're running constant chronic stress patterns. And the fact is 95% of the time, it is not from your own building.
So, yes, and you said something during our pre-call that most companies are not structured for humans, and, well, that they're not structured in a way that you can avoid those stress patterns. What's your experience about that?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I mean, we're dealing with bottom line culture. We're dealing with get the job done at any cost. We're dealing with a culture that humans, and we know now, and even now, I mean, imagine my situation happened several years ago now. This, I would venture to say, this time in history is multiply that by almost 100, right? Because now we have robots and artificial intelligence doing the majority of the work. So imagine the pressure we are under as humans to prove our worth, to prove our value, right? And so, yes, in large corporations, we're numbers, we're expendable, and it's by design. And here we are, right? What are we doing?
I actually have, I talked to my business coach, or actually he made me start thinking about that topic, because I grew up in corporate. So I worked for, a big chemical company. I don't like working in corporate because of exactly what you said, because of the culture, because of the way you're just a number. However, those work ethics were kind of installed in me. So when I then started Lion Creatives, I kind of adopted the same thing. Like, okay, I'm working from, I don't know, 9 to 5. Let's just put numbers to it. I'm working from 9 to 5. I have to sit here. I have to do something. I have to, I have to be present. I have to answer every call. I have to answer every. So it very much, the thing that I didn't like still came with me into Lion Creatives. So now so the coach that I'm working with, he really said that, well, you have your own business so that you have the freedom that you want. That's why you have your own business. And if you're the only person that needs to be in that business, well, it needs to be set up a little bit differently, because you still need this freedom that, for example, go to kickboxing class on Wednesday mornings, have coffee with people that inspire you on Fridays. You need to kind of put that into your schedule. You have to kind of think, oh, okay, I'm not going to be sitting here, but I'm still going to do something productive. But this is a very hard thing to do. Well, it's getting better now, but just to be okay with, hey, today I'm starting at 10. I mean, whatever. I mean, I know what I have to do, but I don't have to report to anyone. I'm getting my work done. I don't have to sit here from 9 to 5, but it is ingrained, and it's very hard to get out of this.
Well, so when this happens to you, when you have one part of your mind saying, as your coach is saying, you have a business, you have your freedom.
Yeah.
And this little seed of a voice saying, nope, the control and.
Yeah, no, I need to be here,
So what was this process, or what is this process like for you right now, of this sort of meeting of these two versions of yourself?
It actually feels very good because now I kind of have permission to do it. Before there was no permission. So even though nobody told me I can't do it, I mean, I'm my own boss.
Right.
So, but by even thinking about talking this through and having the idea, hey, no, this is why I have my own business. I don't need to be here from 9 to 5. I can structure my business the way I want and need. And then when you then go to that kickboxing class, or you go for a run and you start work at 9:30, it's fine. It works. Are you getting your work done? Yes. So good. So there's no downside. But if you would do that in corporate, well, that wouldn't fly, No,
it wouldn't.
So.
And frankly, if you want my opinion, I would venture to say if it was allowed to restructure at that level, it would fly. I think if we would allow people to, and trust people enough, and this is just me on my soapbox, living in an ideal narrative, right? But I do believe that it would fly. I think people being left to a bit more autonomy do finish the work. I am a proponent of, and I know a lot of people would disagree with me, but I do believe that people can succeed working from home. I think if that is part of their character, that they are equipped to do it. Some people have to be in an office to really set up themselves for success in an environment. To each his own, I believe, could really translate an entire corporate universe. But, we aren't there yet. But what I like to hear, though, is that you almost practiced a little cognitive behavioral therapy on yourself by checking the facts, right? That's almost rule number 1, where you say, wait a minute, let me stop myself and check myself. Hey, am I, before this little guilt and shame voice goes off in my head, right? Am I doing my job? Yeah. Am I producing? Yeah. Am I meeting deadlines? Yeah. And am I doing it in my own way? Yeah, I am. And that's a really, really great practice. Again, and this would be in my practice as well, we rewire, right? And in time, that will be the louder voice that comes through. And actually, speaking to corporate and a few key words when you were speaking, which is, I think your story is fascinating, because this perceived image, or this perceived notion of how we allow ourselves to do things, right? This version of us that we think, I cannot, I shouldn't. All of these words that are really going to make your brain a chaotic wormhole of ridiculousness. You go back into this allowing stage and you, oh my gosh. And that's a lot of where we start with the core work at Triage is, okay, first of all, and it's not therapy. It's not going back in time and rehashing anything. It's really sort of marking generational steps back because we encode patterns, right? We inherit patterns, we inherit survival patterns, and that really translates into stress patterns, how we and our relationship is with stress. And so coming from and again, I would love to say, the European mentality or even the very German mentality, right? Everything is in order. Everything has a place. Everything is very diligent and efficient. Those are core staple characteristics in a culture. And they work a lot of times, but sometimes they don't. And if we kind of look back to our parents, grandparents, and we don't have to even know them. We don't have to know personally where they came from, but just to realize, wait a minute, does this even belong to me? Because now I have my own business, I have my own life, I can choose. Those are the realities.
Yeah.
Let me work with the reality instead of this inherited stress pattern. And in corporations, they've built their own reality of what is productive.
Yeah.
And sadly, they've taken out that human element completely because humans are volatile, right?
Well, yeah, and it's all about money. Do the most you can, for less money, and well, not everybody, but I think a lot of businesses are
too many. Yes.
Yeah, but it's funny that you said that with the structure, the German structure. I do really like structure, and I do really I like to be in control of things, and it is very hard to just let some things go. And, but I do like order. I do just a little quick background information. I'm also a track and field head coach for the local rec team. And we organize the meets, and obviously, so everything has to be in order. But I get very okay, we need to be here. Where are the runners? And it's very, very structured.
Yeah.
And while doing that, I'm like, oh my God, I really love order.
Yeah. Right. And again, for listeners, we can laugh. I'm half German, and we were just bonding over this before we started recording. And so I'm nodding because I get it. I get it. I really get it. I really get it.
I really love structure, and I really love when something is planned and organized and works, because then it just does. And when something gets out of order, that's stressful for me. Yeah. But
understandably so. And the fascinating part is, right, when we look at the larger picture of that, it makes a lot of sense, because not too long ago, 80 plus years ago, your country of origin, my mother's country of origin, was completely demolished. There was no control, right? Yeah. There was nothing left, nothing but ruin. And so, ancestrally speaking, where do you get control within yourself? You have to structure it internally. That is the baseline of how people survived. Yeah. And so now we know scientifically, and that's where it is absolutely mind-blowingly fascinating, that those traits get flagged and tagged in our DNA. So how you and I are now able to sort of be cognizant of and have a laugh over it, right? And utilize it to our benefit in a healthy way. Yeah. Decades ago, that was a survival instinct. There was nothing left. It only had to be control, right? Yeah. So now we might overcompensate until we wait a minute. Is this level really that necessary as it was back then? I don't know. We're running track and field here. We're fine.
Yes, no, but still, there it is very necessary.
I hear
there's
you.
there's also the thing that I always wanted to have the meet. Usually the meet was 4 hours, and I always like our best time was 2 hours and 30 minutes. Yes.
Okay, see, now you have the goal. It's imprinted.
Yes. So,
It's imprinted.
Yeah. Anyways.
I love it. I love it. And it's working in a beneficial way too, right?
It is.
In this case, it is.
Yes. If you're a business owner and you've ever wondered why your brand isn't pulling its weight, I built something for you. It's called the Brand Audit Scorecard, and it's completely free. 10 questions, takes about 5 minutes, and it'll show you exactly where your brand is strong and where it's losing you clients. You can grab it at linecreatives.com/brand audit scorecard, and the link is in the show notes. All right, let's get back to it. So going back to noticing these little things that are happening in your body, these I think you called it micro awareness of the little things that happen in your body before the stress becomes out of hand. Can we go back to that and just like maybe some examples of what those little things are?
Sure. I mean, and let me paint it in this picture, because this is sort of what is asked often. What these signs are, what these micro movements are, these micro moments, right? Mm-hmm. And how we really are telling the difference even between, because we're electric, we're a ball of energy as human beings. And so a lot of it is about deciphering really what is ours and what might not even belong to us. That is what I did not have the awareness to do in my job. And that's really what led to total catastrophe. And, what are you feeling in your body? And this is something we're so primed to be logical and to be intellectual when it comes to especially work or building or growing. And a lot of affirmations right now are about telling ourselves, right? We're fine, we're good. Override what you're feeling. You just logically tell yourself you can keep going. That is so false. That narrative is so wrong, because our body, and again, there's so much knowledge out there now. Our body does keep the score. We might not have any idea what we're operating with, but our body will tell us, and we're taught to ignore our bodies. And so really, let me give you an example. If you're about to go into a meeting and you're about to pitch an idea, let's say you have a project, and you know your stuff, you've done the work, every T is crossed, every I is dotted, but let's say your stress response it doesn't match the preparedness that you've done mentally, right? Your body isn't matching your brain. If it's hyper vigilant, if you're feeling like, oh my God, I'm going to pass out, I'm going to vomit, and a lot of people do, right? These nerves, they're uncontrollable. That's giving you a big signal that you're not operating fully within yourself. Your identity is a bit confused at this point in how you're showing up. You're running stress patterns that aren't yours. And so when you're looking at these micro moments, right, it's paying attention to the level of distress you're in. If it's normal stress, a little nerves, like, okay, performance jitters, I hope they like it. I hope I've hit it out of the park. I hope I've done my job. And you get a few butterflies. That's normal. That's you. That's because you care, right? A lot of the times there's a difference between, and this is what I was always told, oh God, I'm getting so nervous, I'm getting so worked up. That's because you care so much. Well, there's a difference, right, between normal and healthy, and nervousness can often kind of ride the same line as excitement. Those are things that you have to stop and say, okay, am I excited? Do I know my stuff? And if you ignore that, you're in trouble. Yeah. And if you really don't pay attention to those, let's say you get a headache or your eyes start to twitch or maybe you get flushed. Maybe you have to use the restroom and you don't really have to. All of these things that you're going to push through, you cannot ignore them. And those are those moments where you can really prime yourself for emotional and nervous system regulation, but 99% of us ignore it because we just think it's just stress. It's just, this is the way it is. This is just our everyday life.
So, and what can you do about those? Like, let's take the example of going into a meeting and you know that you're prepared, but you still have this very strong stress response. So what can you do about it in that moment?
Well, I mean, and this is a very simple, let's just give you a quick example. And this is a very simple, but usable hack. And I do it all the time. And it sounds almost kind of lame, but it's really, there's a method behind it. It's the simple 2-in-1 breathing before you're going in. And I'll tell you why it works. You do these very quick 2 nostril inhales, like 2 sips. And then 1 very slow mouth exhale. 2 sips in the nose, and then 1 very slow mouth exhale. It's almost too simple, but what it does, and this is why it works, is it's activating your brain and your gut at the same time. And so you're taking in air and you're releasing it slowly. And by that slow release, you're telling the brain, I don't have to run. I have time to slowly exhale. And what does your reptilian brain tell you when you can slowly exhale? You're safe.
Yeah.
You're allowed to take the time. There's no danger. So you're overriding with this simple technique. You're starting to override that chaotic, oh God, oh no, what if this and that, and all of these assumptions that your brain is sort of going offline completely and you're in panic mode. You're telling your brain, hey, wait a minute, check the facts, right?
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
And even that, just try that. And of course, there are many others that you go much deeper, right? And it doesn't happen overnight, but this is something very easy to start with.
Yeah, I think this is also something that, and I'm mentioning because my younger daughter, she doesn't like taking tests. And that's exactly, I think every time before a test, she's prepared. She can do it. She's like, she's fine. But then the test happens, and just the situation of being in that test is so stressful that she forgets everything. And then, she can't perform. She's frozen, like you said before. Yeah. And then so we talked to her about breathing and then also, like, what is the worst thing that can happen? Like, it's just a test. Like, you're not going to die. It's just a test.
Well,
and
yeah.
I think she's getting better, but there was a time when she was really struggling with that.
Well, we all go through that on one level or another, and I relate to your daughter greatly. That's happened to me many times, especially your same thing, stress taking. It's a test taking, is a really stressful situation because there's so much riding on it, right? Mm-hmm. But that's theoretical. And so, again, when I have a client and they have maybe not test taking jitters, but job jitters or brand growing jitters, right? Business jitters. I have them do 2 things simultaneously. One is visualize being there. Let's use your daughter as an example. Visualize being there in the moment, being in that seat, in that room, pen or pencil in hand, ready to take this test. All of the visualization that goes with that moment. And immediately, where does that hit her in the body? Is it in the gut? Is it in the chest where maybe your voice might be feeling constricted? If your brain goes blank, complete cutoff from the rest of your body, just overcompensating for what the thing actually is. Mm-hmm. And then you stop for a minute and you say, okay, exactly what you're doing. Say, and first, let's say what is this? Let's just say the brain fog on a level of 1 through 10. How bad is it? If it's a level 9, okay, track that, clock that. Level 9, and then logically, right? And that's then thinking brain coming back online, the prefrontal cortex. Okay, logically, what's the worst that's going to happen? Are you going to collapse? Are you going to evaporate into thin air? Will you cease to exist? No. So rate that. Is it probably on a scale of 1 to 10? It's probably a 1 or 2, right? What's really going to happen to you? Most likely it's going to be a 1 to 2. So subtract your chaos number, what your body is doing, let's say it's a 9, and subtract the real logical what's really going to happen to me, which maybe it's a 2. You're left with this disproportionate level of 8. And you can look at that and say, okay, this is how far off the mark my body is to what the reality is. And you can kind of check yourself to say, what's happening is disproportionate. What's happening is not really me. And you kind of work backwards and you start to sort of separate that. And I like to call it almost demethylate yourself from what that is, because that's not really you talking.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, we need to, just these little distraction methods, and then also what you just described. I think that is definitely helping, in her case. But now let's take all this and put it onto the business side, because you mentioned something during our pre-call, that you had a conversation with a friend, I believe, and you tried to explain what your business is about in in a few words. But that didn't turn out the way that you thought it would, because, and if you want to tell the story.
Oh, Svenja, and this is part of the reason amongst many why I was so delighted that we connected and we have this opportunity to speak, because building and growing a business and the real psychology behind it, I wish people would speak about this more. And so really, I'm so glad that you're bringing it up and bringing it to the forefront here with your listeners, because it isn't talked about enough. And growing my brand, and I'll get to this experience I had with a very good friend of mine, and of course she's very supportive. But my brand is a bit of an unusual niche, right? It's coaching, it's consulting, but it's really also based in hard science, in neuroplasticity, and it's a little unusual. And so I have had a bit of sort of an identity crisis around it, or I had for a long time. And we can get into that because it really is kind of a wild experience that I'm sure thousands of people have. But, I've always led until the last sort of year or so with this fear almost of, I have to over-explain what I do because no one's going to understand it. And so I have to over-explain it because that is sort of my proprietary special sauce. I have to tell people that this is special. I have to tell people that it's different. So people will get it, and oh my God, it'll grow the interest. I couldn't have been more wrong about this. I was working the most difficult path to success I was shooting myself in both legs before I was even trying to stand up. And so you're the expert
very stressful.
Here. Very stressful, right? Yeah, hence me being my own best guinea pig in this. But and it worked. So eventually it worked, guys. But my friend, who I hadn't seen in quite a while, she is a partner in a law firm, highly stressful job, and she was mentioning that she was stressed. She's the mom of 3, and there's a lot happening, right? And so she asked how the business was going, and I started to explain. She mentioned that she was burned out and she was stressed. Okay, maybe it's a potential client here. And so well, this is what we do. And then I go into the epigenetics and the inherited thing and the DNA and the methylation. And she's looking at me like, huh? Like, I just told you I was stressed. Like, now you're stressing me out even more because I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Okay. And I had this moment where I'm like, okay, wait, what? And almost a different part of my brain activated. And I said, actually, listen, we rewire your stress circuitry in the brain. And basically, let's say in terms of your company, your firm, if you cannot restructure your firm, then we allow your employees to restructure themselves.
Yeah.
That was it. And then her eyes lit up.
Yeah.
And then she's like, wait, what? That's awesome. Tell me more. And so I had gone on for a whole monologue where it was exhausting. I confused myself. She was confused. And then I literally had this epiphany when she looked at me with a blank stare. Now, actually, I can tell you what I do in literally 1 second.
Yeah.
And that's when the interest started. And not only that, then she said, oh my God, let me send you my email. I want to put this to the table on the boardroom. We need this kind of work. Immediately send me the deck, let's do a pitch. We have to do this. That was not from the over explaining. That was from literally 1 sentence.
Yep. And that clarity behind your business, that clarity, what you're actually doing. I mean, everybody, if you start your own business, you know what you're doing. But the ability to just say within a couple of words what it is that you're doing and how you can help your potential client to get better, that is branding. That is part of the strategy of the branding. And it is, I don't think enough people, like you said, I don't think enough people are really practicing this short version of what they're doing. And it needs to be done even more.
Well, it needs to be done, yes. And to piggyback off of what you had said, building a brand is the most personal thing, in my opinion, you will ever do. There is no challenge as intimate as building a brand. Because if you are inauthentic, if you are not showing up as yourself, if you are, and basically, in my belief, and again, you're the expert, but this has been my experience here, is you're not selling the medicine, you're selling the relief. And you are your best doctor, right? You are the best person to understand what it took to solve the problem that you're now trying to be of service with to the rest of the world. So whether it's a product, a service, it's personal on some level, and you have to do that work, because if you're showing up inauthentically, and this is actually something that I learned that is really very fitting, 95% of decisions are made subconsciously. So if someone's buying something, and you know this, not based on logic, it's based on a feeling, it's based on emotion, it's based on the pain points that we're claiming we're going to solve for you. And there's this theory of the high road and the low road, and it's Joseph Ledoux, he's a neuroscientist. There's a theory that and it's not a theory, it's just plain old brain activation, that the low road, let's say, we all have it, is the decisions that are made with only your amygdala. And that is, it happens between 30 milliseconds and 120 milliseconds. It's literally faster than a blink of an eye. That's low road. The high road is going down a slower path to include the nuance of that thing that's happening, right? So before your high executive functioning kicks in, you've already made a decision if something is dangerous or not. And even if you don't know what it is. And so if I'm selling you a product or a service, the buyer knows feels what you're giving off. The buyer knows and feels the vibe you are putting out there. They know if you're operating on a low road mentality of desperation, please hire me, I need the sale, I don't really know what I'm selling, I don't really have an identity yet around it. That gets picked up. And so is really what you're putting out there, and that is low road sort of decision making on your part, but then the buyer is also activating their, wait a minute, what? This is not feeling right. Why am I spending money on you?
Yeah. And that starts with your website. And we talked about that on during the pre-call, that the way you present yourself online is how people perceive you. And that is within a couple of seconds. It's someone opens your website and it doesn't load quickly. They might be gone already. And that's already the first step. Then the website might load, but then the picture might not, I don't know, it might not be a good picture for the headline. If something doesn't match, the navigation is not organized, then the things that you're doing are not really explained on the website, or, like you said, it's going on and on and on and on, and nobody really understands. Nobody's going to read it. So if someone really lands on your website, and you need a website, like in 2026, you cannot have a business without a website. I mean, you can, obviously, but you're losing out if you do not have a website, because people they hear about you, they will immediately go online and search for you. And if you don't have a website, well, just a Facebook page,
I agree.
Doesn't look very professional. So, and you said something very interesting, that your own website, that you were struggling with that as well, that it was kind of stressing you out because you worked with so many other designers. And and you spend a lot of money, but none of those designers were able to really create a website that.
No, and it still bothers me. I still get worked up about it. Because for several reasons. And, and now again, we all are learning as we go, right? And I am not a designer by any means of the imagination. But I also know what I want. I had the problem of, again, going back to this identity shifting, right? Part of me knew who I wanted to present myself as, the product, the service, I knew inherently, but the extrapolation of that, putting it out there into the world, that's where I was roadblocked because of my own insecurities, right? And again, I had to do the work on myself. What am I really offering? Am I confident in my offer? Let's work on this before I try to work on the external, which is then the website, right? And as I started this years ago, I didn't do that. I made the mistake. I didn't trust myself enough. And that goes back again, let's dig it up from the past, right? And really, what is my stress pattern around that? But I spent thousands and thousands of dollars on trusting other people to know more than me. And the part of it that really aggravated me was I was lessening my own sort of fortitude. I was devaluing my own vision of my brand. And even as I searched for designers, I was not confident enough to speak up, to say, this is what I want. Are you capable of collaborating with me? Are you going to guide me in the ways that I am not an expert? Are you going to show me, let's say, even with the, marketing, the UX marketing, or just all of these different, what the eye sees, how to position the words, the flow of the site. Are you able to jump in and do that? I didn't have that confidence. I was just happy to be there. Oh, okay, I'm excited. Here's my money. I trust you. And it took years. I fired people. They switched up and they, I don't have time. What would have been a really easy tweak took months. it was a really, really hard experience, but I learned, because I learned, oh my God, my website is really another branch of my identity.
Yep.
And where I'm not showing up to tell people what I'm expecting, what I want to pay for, that goes back onto how I feel about the brand, how I feel about myself, how confident I am about what I'm doing. And so, I said, let's put this website on hold for a minute. Let me work on this first and this first.
Yeah. And it's also important that you know, you need to know what your business, like exactly what you just said. You need to know what you want, like your offers, who you want to be. But then it's also important that you're working with someone who is not just a designer, because a designer can execute. You tell him or her, I want the picture here, I want the text here, I want the services here. But that requires you to have all that information. Then if you then work with someone who specializes in really working on your strategy, working together with you as a team, that is the foundation. And that comes way before the logo, that comes way before the website, because that needs to be clear. And if you're working with someone who does all the work, who can guide you through the whole steps, then in the end, the website is a result of all that work. And then it will fit, because everything is based on that strategy. And I think because everybody just thinks, I want to start my own business, let's have a logo. That's not the first step. The first step is be clear of what you want to offer, who you want to serve, and who is your competitor, and where are you even on the market? Who are you? Once you know that, you can move forward with all the visuals. But before, you might have a pretty picture, but that's all there is. There's no strategy behind it. And so I think it's very important that you work with someone who knows what they're doing.
I would venture to say it's not just very important, it's critical.
Yeah.
Spend the money. Invest in someone who is able to do that. A lot of designers are not capable. And, like you're working with a business coach. I mean, in a perfect world, and I understand, there are investments, but this is worth the investment. And even I've told you, I wish. And at some point, when it's time to sort of and upgrade my site and my sort of the brand, I'm coming straight to you. No, really. I mean, based on we've had enough time speaking where you are that brand advisor. You're capable of it. Most are not. And in a perfect world, the investment, I would say, start with your own identity, do an audit of that identity, break down all of those questions, not just what you're selling, but let's do a little work on yourself. Figure that out, clear it up, and be confident, and then invest in a really good collaborative brand and design company or team. And I would 100%, and I will be working with you, but that's a different capacity. You have a different capacity than most, right? Because then I, as a client, will come fully loaded to say, this is what I'm here to do. And there will be somebody, another expert in my ear saying, okay, well, great. This is what we're going to do. And let's really work your vision out into something that's aesthetically really capturing, right?
That is you, and that you are proud of. And that's the 100%. End goal, to create something that you're happy to share. When you meet someone like your friend, you're like, this is what I'm doing, but why don't you go to my website? This is where you find all the information that you need. You're happy, you're excited about sharing your business card. You're excited about sharing your website. You're excited about your business in general, because now it represents something that is so you. So,
right.
Yeah. I think
there's really no other way to do it. And again, that's why I applaud you so sincerely, because, and I mentioned it before, but it's so true that brand conversations are not incorporating this discussion enough. And this just goes to show the level of professionalism that you're operating at, because I guarantee you, any brand designer, director, I've talked to a million creatives that have tried to collaborate in whatever discussion we've had. Nobody touches on that identity aspect of it.
Yeah. No, that's the most important part. Most important part. Otherwise, there's no story. And I think what makes your business special is the story behind it, because that is what makes you different. And I mean, there's so many coaches out there, but they all have a different take, and you have a special offering that needs to be elevated, because that's uniquely you, and that's what your brand needs to reflect.
Well, and that's where I started to get excited about Triage, right? Because at first, and for several years, and I'm not kidding, literally several years, I was really anxious about, and I had that moment with my friend, right? Of, oh boy, I don't know how to explain this.
Yeah.
But really, the brass tacks of it is, hey, if you've tried everything, you've tried your massages, your mindfulness, your post-it notes of affirmations, all of this, and it's not working, I wonder why. Because you're not operating on your own program. You're operating on an inherited program.
Yeah.
So that's proprietary consulting right there. That's kind of all I would have needed to have said years ago.
Yeah.
That's all I say now. And then the phone starts to ring. Wait, what a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. What? How do I optimize myself? Okay, let's get to work.
Yep.
It doesn't need to be a novel. No one's going to read a novel. Who has the time?
Yeah. You can have an audiobook.
You can have an audiobook.
Yeah. No, but just
probably written by AI. And by the way, listen, I'm on the fence with AI. I'm sure you have more of an opinion because it's so correlated to your work.
Yeah.
But do you realize even the use of AI, how heavily someone leans into that, is a direct reflection of how somatically safe they feel? If they don't feel safe enough to express themselves authentically, and if they're questioning their identity, well, immediately now we have this amazing tool, right? And I say amazing with air quotes. Oh, AI, tell me what I think.
Is that thought good or not?
Oh,
AI, tell
boy.
me.
Good luck, buddy. Like, this is sort of somatic safety in action. I don't trust myself to even have my own opinion.
Yeah. But I do have to say, I mean, yes, I absolutely agree with you. But it is a time saver. It is an absolute time saver. But I absolutely agree with you on...
There's a dance, right? There's a dance.
There is, yeah.
But
anyways.
Leaning too heavily... Have a little flag go off. Wait a minute. Am I trusting myself with this?
Yes, exactly.
Trust yourself.
But we're already at the end of the podcast, the conversation. And I would like to, if you can give it like one tip to the listeners, what they can do. I mean, we talked about the stress response and things like that, but when they're starting their own business, because it is a stressful time. You think you have to be in your business 24/7, but you don't. What's a tip that you can give to the listeners?
There are so many, and I always like to share things that match a little bit of, and this is, again, very important, matching this action of the brain, a bit of the body, and a bit of the hand, right? And the reason being is when you're physically writing something, you're getting out of your head onto paper, you're separating yourself from that issue, theoretically, and your body is also along for the ride, because ultimately your body has to feel safe before your identity can really move forward in a productive way. So I would say, hey, if you're having a moment trying to figure out whatever, if it's your branding issue, obviously pick up the phone and call you. In a perfect world, call me first. Let's work on the branding, your identity, and then you work with Svenja. I mean, sky's the limit.
Perfect. Yes.
Holy cow! Here we go. You're off to the races. But make a list. Take a piece of paper out. Draw a line in the middle. You have your right column and your left column, and in your right column, write down all of these versions of success, all of the optimal versions of the business, your ideal setup. I mean, the 5-year plan, the goal, you want to be $1 million business in 5 years, and what it's going to look like, how you're going to feel. Write down the outfit you're wearing when you're giving a keynote. I mean, really.
Yeah.
And then on the left side, write down every possible nuance of the fear of what you're sitting with in the moment. Saying, you know, oh God, who am I to give this info? Who do I think I am? Imposter syndrome, right? The branding is so much heavily rooted in it. But who am I? Are they going to listen to me? What do I know? But whatever that kind of vibe is, put it on the left side. And so you have 2 different categories. They're 2 different and actual real versions of yourself. And I want you to sort of cross what makes sense and what's doable versus what is really, I don't want to say a figment of your imagination, because it's not, it's real. But really take a look and the bird's eye view of, is that really how I feel in this moment? Am I really not capable? You're going to say, wait, no, that's not true. Actually, I know a lot more than I think I do. So it's a way of calling yourself out and immediately having this other version of yourself right there to step in and say, yeah, you know, I'm calling myself out. This isn't true. The right side is true.
That's a good tip. I like that.
It helps because when you're activating your eyeballs, talk about the vagus nerve again, right? Eyes, brain, down the brainstem, directly to your gut. So immediately your gut will start to relax. You'll probably actually get a little hungry because now your whole system is starting to relax, right?
Yeah.
And your cortisol is lowering because you're immediately in real time calling yourself out on these untruths.
Yeah.
And just try it. And then you'll be able to say, okay, actually, no, the right side is more appropriate and more real than these imagined inherited fears.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
That's a really cool tip. So if someone wants to learn more, get in touch with you, reach out, where can they find you?
Well, and you're going to laugh, Svenja, and I promise this is not made up. Guys, go onto the website. It's triagebalancedlife.com. Right now, this week, it is down because we are upgrading the back end. We're not rebranding, I promise you.
Yeah.
But I think it's funny that it happens to be down today, but it will be up by the end of the week. So no worries. So Triage Balanced Life. Send us a quick email at let's talk at Triage Balanced Life. And actually for your viewers, or your listeners and viewers, whomever, I feel so strongly that they come to you, they work with you, they really grow in a creative, solid way. And I really do stand by and feel very strongly about what it is that you do. But I'm going to offer the first, let's say 5 to 8 people, if they email us at Triage, usually we have a 30-minute fit call. I'm offering much lengthier low road audit. And so basically whoever will call or send an email saying I'm interested in a low road audit, it's completely free, no strings attached. It's just to get a taste of where you are emotionally with your brand. Not even the branding's your territory, but where you are in your identity.
Yes. Yeah.
Really, let's audit that. Let's figure out where the weak spots are. Let's figure out what you want and who you really want to get to be. Totally free. It will take probably a good 90 minutes. So this is, pretty good darn value, but I really want to help and be of service because, as I said, I mean it. I don't think branding and identity shifting are talked about in correlation enough.
That's awesome.
5 to 7 people, shoot us an email. Let's get that on the books. And then ideally go to Svenja and knock your website and your branding out of the park. So, yes, Life.
Awesome. So then if they mention this might get creative.
100%. Yep.
Awesome.
Let's get to work.
I'll put that. I'll put everything in the show notes.
Please.
And it was so much fun talking to you. And I really agree with everything you said about stress and that it has to be regulated and that sometimes we do not, really acknowledge that we should probably do something about it. And I think it's important work. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Svenja. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for listening to This Might Get Creative, a Behind the Brand podcast by Lion Creatives. If you enjoyed this episode, follow the show and share it with someone who loves discovering local businesses and creative entrepreneurs. You can learn more about my work at lioncreatives.com or find me on Instagram, lion.creatives, and LinkedIn at Lion Creatives. Until next time, keep showing up, keep creating, and keep getting seen.